So it's coming that time of the year again that everyone's all-star votes are coming in. Many very balanced, some a little biased, and others just plain right ridiculous. Well, recently the NBA's released the first batch of all-star votes, so us fans can get a gauge on what players we need to vote for more, and some that we may need to cut voting out altogether. So in today's video, I want to discuss a little of the voting, whether I think some of these players deserve to be in their spot, who could get more votes, and is this voting style really fair for certain players? Like always, this is just my opinion, and I'd love for you guys to share your thoughts on this topic. So in the comments down below, I'd love to hear the most deserving all-star, your dark horse all-star, and who you think might miss the cut for this year. So first of all, we'll go with what I believe is the easiest to dissect, as I can't really argue much against it, and that is the Eastern Conference frontcourt. Kevin Durant leads the way with 2.3 million votes, followed by Giannis Antetokounmpo with 2.1 million votes, and in the last spot is Joel Embiid with 1.2 million votes. Kevin Durant has been spectacular as always. You can even argue he's growing more as a player even as a 33-year-old in his 15th season. He's leading the league in scoring on efficient shooting, grabbing close to 8 rebounds, and has grown a little as a facilitator, averaging 5.8 assists. There's not much more that I can really say other than he's one of the front runners for MVP. Now you have Giannis, which I'll put in the similar category as a guaranteed all-star. The reigning champion / finals MVP is still going on a tear, which seems to be going under everyone's radar. He's averaging 28.5 points, 11.4 rebounds, and 5.9 assists to go along with this all NBA level defensive play. You can even make the argument that there's not a better two-way player in the league right now, and no doubtably deserves a starting spot. Now it feels bad me saying this because Joel Embiid is still an amazing player, but he's just the lesser of the three, taking the third spot. Although you can make a case for him to be in the top 10 for MVP voting, the other guys above him are just that more special. Joel is currently averaging 26.8 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 4.3 assists, which is decent for a big man. He's the main leader on a Philly team who was missing their main second option for however long, and still held the 5th seed, which is not too bad. Now for the rest of the Eastern Conference frontcourt players, I really can't make an argument for them to top any of these guys, and really, none of them even come close. Tatum is on a down this year, Butler has been good, but can't upstage any of these guys as starters. Look, I could pretty much say the same for the rest of the 10. Except Aldridge. That man has no right to be anywhere near an all-star team this year. Now we'll look at the Eastern Conference guards. Now, the guards are much tougher, as there's not really clear-cut guys compared to the forwards. But from the ballot as of now, DeMar DeRozan leads the way with 1.5 million votes, James Harden comes in second with close to 900,000 votes. However, Trae Young and Zach LaVine are not too far behind, and could really still be in contention. First off, there's DeMar DeRozan. In the video I made just before the season started, I went on record to say that DeMar DeRozan would need to embrace the sidekick role, alongside Zach LaVine, to be a contending team, and to be honest, I feel like I wasn't far off. Rather than LaVine being the main man though, it's more of a 1A/1B sort of thing. DeMar is having the best season to date, in his 13th season as a 32-year-old. He's averaging 26.4 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 4.7 assists, while having one of his best shooting splits to date. And I feel like I have to talk about his sidekick LaVine while I'm here, because I wouldn't really be mad if these two got in the starters. LaVine is averaging very similar numbers, with 26 points, 4.1 assists, and 4.9 rebounds. Honestly, these stats are almost identical, and are the reason why the Chicago Bulls are the top team in the East. But for now, the second spot belongs to James Harden. And look, there's always going to be a case for James Harden to be an all-star starter every year. His numbers have taken a little dip. For his standards, he's averaging 22.4 points and 9.7 assists on slightly worse shooting, being the second man, I should remind you. But Trae Young has been doing this season much better. Both players took a bit of learning to adjust to the stricter rules enforced, but for me, it feels like Trae has adapted much better. He's currently averaging 28 points and 9.6 assists, shooting a better clip than the previous season. And yes, people will point out that Atlanta has been terrible, especially considering they were so close to making the NBA Finals. And yeah, that's a fair point, but people want to see the best player in the All-Star games. And really, you can make the case that Trae is in the top 2 guards in the East. As far as the rest of the players go, it really goes to show who's the fan favourites. LaMelo Ball comes in at 4th, and definitely deserves to be reserved. But then you got Darius Garland and Fred VanVleet, who have really exceeded people's expectations for this year, and are sitting at 9th and 10th, respectively. Kyrie Irving, Tyler Hero, and Derrick Rose, however, should be nowhere near an all-star list, and really, it's quite embarrassing that these guys are ahead of the previously mentioned. I know it's a popularity contest, and reserves are from the coaches and such, but still, come on fans, you can do much better than that. Now let's look at the Western Conference frontcourt, as by no surprise, LeBron leads the way with 2 million votes. Jokic comes in second with 1.6 million, and Paul George comes in with just 1 million. LeBron was going to get him regardless of his performances. Everyone knew that, but the performances that he's been having puts him amongst the top players in the league. And even though he's still one of the biggest faces in the NBA, you really can't argue his place here. Nikola Jokic has been playing out of his skin. He can do it all and has really improved on the defensive aspect of his game. And for me, is the MVP frontrunner. So his place here is another. No-brainer. Paul George, however, is a bit of a weird one. He hasn't played 14 out of his last 16 games due to injury. And even if he was injury-free before the All-Star game, would it really be deserved? Like, yeah, he's carrying a Clippers squad without Kawhi Leonard, but I feel like he hasn't played enough lately to guarantee his spot. And that leads to the rest of the votes. Andrew Wiggins has been solid this season, and has really given life to his career, but being 4th place in voting is criminal. Draymond Green comes in at 5th, and honestly, I like the idea of him starting more than Andrew Wiggins. Yeah, his stats don't look the prettiest, but he's the driving force behind Golden State's success, and it'll be nice for him to get a start, even though you could fit much more talented players in. The rest of the guys in the 10 you can make a case for to be in the All-Star team, for all having good years on their own, except for Carmelo. Yeah, he's had a little revival, but not enough to be anywhere near an All-Star team, especially at this age. Lastly, but not least, we have the Western Conference guards. And at the top spot, we have the leading NBA All-Star vote getter and Steph Curry with over 2.5 million. The second spot, we have Luka Doncic with close to 800,000 votes. Now, although I think Steph Curry might be a little overrated, click up here for my thoughts, I really can't deny his spot in the All-Star team. However, this might be a little controversial, but I don't believe he's the best guard in the West right now. And for me, that title belongs to Ja Morant, who's having an amazing season and has helped push the Grizzlies to new heights. So unfortunately, that means that I don't think Luka should be a starter this year for the All-Star game. Now, he could prove me wrong before voting ends and has picked up his performances of lately, but for me, I feel like that spot is much more deserving for Ja. And then there's the rest, and no disrespect to the other guys because some of them have had some great years, but really in the West right now, there's those 3 guys and then the rest. I should mention that Klay should be nowhere near an All-Star team, having not played a single game when the voting stats were released. And Westbrook is getting the LA treatment. And Dame, for the fact, is having an off year. But I have no issues with the rest of those guys, as you can make a case for each one of those players to be a reserve. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on the All-Star voting results. And if you enjoyed this video, it would mean so much if you could like this video or subscribe to my channel. Like I mentioned before, I'd love to hear who you think is a guaranteed All-Star, your dark horse All-Star, and someone who you think won't make the cut. I believe that Nikola Jokic is guaranteed, Anthony Edwards is my dark horse, and the one to miss the cut is Damian Lillard. Let me know down below. Cheers, and have a good one.